Be a millionaire in all 6 aspects of health. That's right. Every week we go live on Wednesdays to share tips to improve your physical, social, spiritual, financial, intellectual, and your mental health. Today we are going to focus on how to improve your mental health with confidence. And before we keep going, I am so sorry. I got sand in my eye or something and woke up, so I'm going to be not happy this entire episode. So thank God we have some awesome guests to take over. So if you see me crying this whole episode, that is why. Anyways, if you have never seen Millionaires Are Made, this is the show built on the fundamental beliefs that every person you meet knows something you don't, and there's something to be learned from everyone in this big, beautiful world. Here at Millionaires Are Made, we are on a mission to teach the world how to grow into the healthiest, happiest millionaires in all 6 aspects of health. That's right, it's not just about your bank account. To do that, we got 3 awesome guests to give you 3 awesome tips today on how to improve your mental health with confidence. In the spirit of authenticity, to try to remove as much bias as possible, we do not talk about tips or advice before the show starts. So when they come on air and share their advice live, that will be our first time hearing them as well. Audience, this is an interactive show, so please feel free to comment and ask questions. We do ask the questions live on air, so you can get your answers right away. Real quick, we're going to do our follower shout-out somewhere, somehow. On Facebook, Rose A. Higgins. Instagram, Charles Cannon. TikTok, Goddess Gabby. And on YouTube, Kim Larson. Thank you guys so much for following. If you want to be shouted out in our show, all it takes is a quick click. A couple things to ask you guys. If you want to be a guest on our show and we know you have something to share, that link is being dropped right now. Just click it, sign up, and we'll get you on an episode. And if you have a topic that you want us to cover, we always want more topics. Please send them all our way, no matter how crazy you might be. We will go find 3 awesome guests to give 3 awesome tips on that topic just for you. If you love what we do, giving out free advice, gathering smart people, and sharing all that knowledge with you, don't forget to send stars, share, like, subscribe, whatever it is, however you're watching. And if you ever want to, oh my gosh, and if you also like free information, I do free growth sessions. We're dropping a link to my calendar right here. Come check it out one-on-one. It's free. Hang out, learn, and let's grow. One last thing before we get our sponsors is we do have merchandise. We just launched 2 new shirts. So if you are looking for some awesome ways to help the world grow, check out our Millionaires Are Made store and grab yourself a shirt. And before we bring out our first guest, we'll go over some sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Sarah Jones. Sarah used to be buried in debt in a failing marriage, and her life was not so great. So she eventually had enough, got rid of everything she knew, left her big-name debt consolidation company coach, and learned it all herself. So now Sarah and her husband, as happy as can be, drive around the U.S. in a giant RV with a ton of toys and are financial coaches that help guide couples, individuals, and small businesses to build fun, healthy money habits. Go check her website out now. She's awesome. Our next sponsor is Biz by Right, the matchmaking service for people who love buying and selling businesses. At Biz by Right, they find cash-flowing deals, vet them with AI wizardry, and connect buyers and sellers faster than you can say due diligence. Go visit bizbyright.com. Your wallet will thank you, and your accountant will be overjoyed. Our next sponsor is Brian Parana, who is a husband, a father of 4, and founder of The Call to Rise, which is a program to help busy men reclaim their health, their energy, and their confidence, just like our episode today, through simple, sustainable systems that fit real life. Go check it out, calltorise.com. And our final sponsor for this episode, who is also on this episode, is Brian Wright. If you want to get your brand in front of high-level entrepreneurs and personal growth leaders, you got to go talk to Brian at the Ultimate Achievers magazine, where industry icons meet a content-first audience. Brian also will help you publish your book and do virtually anything you want to get your name and brand out there. Whoo! Thank you so much. And now we are going to bring our first guest out. Our first guest is named Ely. Ely, please tell us, who are you?
Well, good morning, my friend. Good to see you here. I appreciate you having me come on today. And I am Ely Delaney, email marketing strategist and follow-up guy. Basically, I help my clients get more opens, more replies, more engagement, and AKA more sales from their email list by taking their boring newsletters, getting rid of it, and turning into a relationship-building machine. So that's me in a nutshell.
And you are a loser if you don't hire Eli. I heard from his most recent post.
Thank you.
Just kidding. That was his way to not get a client. Anyways, Eli, we're not here to talk about email marketing, but we are here to talk about confidence. So I've got a question for you.
Yep.
If I wanted to improve my mental health with confidence, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
The biggest piece of advice I would give you is start collecting testimonials. And those testimonials, from a business standpoint, if you're in business, these are your LinkedIn recommendations, text messages, Facebook comments, everything from clients that are working with you. But also, if you're getting, like, you're talking to friends, you're talking to family, and people are saying things like, you know what, thank you so much. This really helped me out. When you get a chance, write that down and put that aside someplace else. There's going to be times where life sucks and you're really having that doubt of whether you're doing the right thing. And those are the times where, from a business standpoint, we collect those testimonials to use in our marketing. But the reality is those are the things that you're going to open them up. You're going to read them and go, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I am doing some good stuff. And so that's really, that has been the biggest thing for me to build confidence. When I'm having a bad day, I just open up that Google folder that has screenshots from people who've said cool things that they got help from me, and it definitely turns around the day.
That's actually really cool, Eli. It's almost like building your own self affirmations.
Absolutely.
Personally and professionally. Yeah. Anytime someone says something good, note that and write that down. Awesome tip. Eli, where on your life journey did you learn that?
The reality is that because I am in business, I was collecting testimonials because I was told I was supposed to do that and use them in my marketing, put them on my website, all that kind of stuff. And there was one time where I was literally in such a funky place that all I was doing was I'm going through and basically cleaning up digital clutter on my hard drive. And I got to my testimonials and I started opening them up and I started reading them, and I was like, okay, I did help this person, and okay, that was kind of cool. I actually get that. That made a difference, and I started feeling the energy that I got from when they first gave those to me, and that actually pulled me out of the funk and got me back to actually, instead of procrastinating, trying to clean up stuff on my hard drive, I actually got back to work. And so ever since then, anytime I'm having a bad day, that's what I do.
That's cool. Hey, that's pretty powerful. You're like, damn. All right, so here's this tip. Anytime someone says something good about you or that you helped them out, write it down, save it, and on those sad, sad days, pull it out and remember that you're fucking awesome.
There we go.
Eli, I'm sure your database is way too large with nice things people have said about you, so it must be pretty easy for you.
Yeah, well, I love it. Thank you.
All right, Eli. Thank you. We are on to our next one. We will bring Deeva out here in a second. Thank you, Eli. Deeva, let me ask you, who are you?
Who am I? That's the question everybody keeps asking, and sometimes I don't even know. Who am I?
Who are you right now? Who are you right now?
Right now, I'm a former educator, and I'm also a psychic medium, and I help people through grief.
Okay,
I
through
talk
grief.
to dead people, basically, is what I say to people.
So there's a movie written after you. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Bruce Willis is in.
I say that on purpose because of that movie. Because anybody from my generation should know, I see dead people, but I don't see them. I talk.
It was a really good movie. Really good movie. All right, Deeva, question for you. If I wanted to improve my mental health with confidence, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
My advice is step out of your comfort zone. Nothing brings out confidence more than being uncomfortable and having to get through things. And so when we purposefully step out of our comfort zone to try something new, to do something different, it forces us to look at the world differently. And so sometimes when we do scary things within a structure, um, we we learn more about ourselves through doing those things. And better to put ourselves into that predicament than to find ourselves unexpectedly in something scary and having to get out of it. So the best way we learn about ourselves is going through troubled times. And nobody wants to do that. And it's hard going through those difficult times. But when we look in retrospect, we're like, yeah, I really grew, or I really learned that I needed to set boundaries, or I needed to, you know, be this kind of person to deal with that situation. So I find, and my new motto is to try new things, step out of your comfort zone, do something that isn't within your norm to get you into a situation where you do and see things differently. You learn what you're capable of.
Yeah, I mean, going through the struggle is definitely a great way to build confidence. Obviously, repetition. I mean, you're confident in things that you do every day. We all are pretty confident in brushing our teeth, I believe. But that first time that you brush your teeth, you might be a little nervous, right? So repetition, doing it, being confident comes from already knowing that you have done it and knowing that you've learned ways to do it better. So that's
Well,
awesome.
and there's confidence that comes from succeeding at something you didn't think you could do. And this goes back to when I was 10 years old. I was in pool, a large pool with a bunch of kids my age, and we were allowed to jump off the high diving board. And so this was exciting because most kids didn't have this opportunity because you don't have an Olympic sized swimming pool in most places. And so you could climb up, and of course there was no regulation back in that day where, one person on the ladder at a time. It was like mayhem. So I'm up on the platform, and I was scared beyond belief. Like, once you get up there, you don't realize how high that board is until you're up there. And I thought, I can't do this. And I went to turn around to climb back down the ladder, but there were kids all up the ladder. I couldn't get down. My only way off that platform was jumping. And I thought, I can't do this. I can't do this because the height was too much. So there were so many things going through my head. And what ended up happening ended up being my life motto, because I stood at the edge as kids were yelling at me to hurry up. And I counted to three, but I jumped on two. So by the time my brain got to three, I
Oh,
was in the air. I couldn't get out of it. And I hit the water. It was fun. I was glad I did it. I faced that fear. And now everything I do, I count to three and I jump on two.
interesting. So were you taught that beforehand, or did that just happen right then?
That just happened right then. That was survival. It was like, um, what's that book where the kids turn on each other?
Children of the Corn?
No, no, that's a whole different kind of kid. Um, no, Lord of the Flies. It was kind of Lord of the Flies. Like, these kids were about to throw me off the platform if I didn't jump. Like, it was
That sounds
craziness.
similar.
So it
Um,
was a matter of survival, saving face, because kids were getting frustrated that I was taking so long. And so that, at 10 years old, I learned I could do anything if I set my mind to it. And that sometimes what seems scary can turn out to be a really great experience.
yeah, that is so true. And I mean, I feel like you hear that a lot. It's very rare. Well, I guess sometimes you could. Like, if you jump out of a plane, some people hate it afterwards. And some people say, I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it. But with a lot of tough things, usually the answer will be, I'm so glad I did it. You agree with
Yes,
that?
I do, very much so. And I say that about my brother's death as well, which is not something
Oh,
you would
wow.
normally hear people say. My brother died by suicide in 2013. And that was probably the most difficult time in my life, trying to process that. But I look back and I think my brother's death saved my life, because it forced me to look at my life differently, to look at myself differently. It taught me to grow. I learned to connect with my brother on a very different level. And it really set me on the path of connecting with spirit again, because I could as a child. And it's really put me in a position where I can help other people through grief. And so it sounds weird for me to say that my brother's death saved my life, but I truly believe it did, because when I look back at what my life was before he died, I wasn't happy. I was going through the motions. I was doing what society expects of you, you know, career, that that whole rat race mentality. And it was his death that set me on a path that was very difficult, don't get me wrong, but I think in so many ways he helped save me.
Wow, that's pretty powerful, Diva. Yeah, we were just talking in the comments here, and it's like sometimes some of the horrible tragedies become some of the most beautiful things, and it's kind of crazy how that works, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Diva, we're gonna move on to our next guest. We'll bring you out for the
Yeah.
round robin. Thank you so much. Man, this eye is killing me. If you just joined, I got beach volleyball sand in my eye and overnight, and now I can't do anything right. Next up, we have Brian. Brian, who are you?
That is a really great question. I host a show called Success Profiles Radio. Been doing that for 13 and a half years. It's a weekly show. I publish Ultimate Achievers Magazine, which is a monthly publication, and I help people write their books. So that, in a nutshell, is who I am and what I do.
Brian, are you confident?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think confidence comes from getting small wins.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
And it comes from setting big goals and plotting out how you're going to get there, and then having a small win every day somehow. Do something every single day to move yourself in the direction of your goal. For example, I'm in the middle of a weight loss journey, and basically what I've done, I defined where I was when I started. I defined where I want to be at the end, and I plotted out what I needed to do to get there. You know, walk for an hour every day, not eat ice cream and chips and Chex Mix all the time. I stopped doing all those things, and just that alone, I've dropped 14 pounds in the first month and a half.
Nice, congrats. Small little things, huh? And then by
Small little
doing all those
things.
small wins, your confidence is growing, huh?
Absolutely, and it means that I have the confidence to make really great choices. For example, my mom and I visited my sister for lunch yesterday. We went to Subway. I carried out. And for me, instead of getting a sandwich and eating all the bread, I decided to get a protein bowl. So they will serve you what you want in a bowl instead of on the bread. And they give you extra portions of meat. And so that's what I did. So eliminated a ton of carbs. And I felt really great. In fact, I was so full I didn't even eat dinner last night, and I had a protein shake for breakfast this morning. So I'm making good choices, and it makes me feel really confident. So I'm pretty happy with where I'm going. With my radio show, for example, I really had no vision for what it was going to be when I started. I didn't have any idea how I was going to make money with it. And as it turns out, some of my guests are paying clients, and it's paid for my show many times over. And 13 and a half years later, here I still am. Over 600 episodes, gotten to interview a lot of really amazing guests. And to what Ely said, getting testimonials is important. I've gotten some really big name guests on my show because other big name guests have agreed to give me testimonials. In fact, Jack Canfield said on my show, "You've interviewed a bunch of my friends," and I very confidently said, "Yes, I have."
Ah, there you go. That's fat. Well done. Well done. Brian,
Yeah.
Where in your life journey did you learn this tip?
Well, I think early in my life, I think I was my own worst enemy. I didn't believe in myself. I thought, oh, well, it's possible for you, but it's not possible for me. But I realized, you know what? God has a plan for my life too. Not just other people, but me too. And if a dream has been put on my heart, then the resources will open up and be available for me to do what I want to do too. And so I think strengthening my faith has been very important to that journey. And I think just deciding that time is short and I'm closer to the end of my journey than I am to the beginning. And if it's going to happen, it has to be me. So you learn confidence by taking small steps in the direction of your goal every single day and experiencing a small win. In fact, I document what did I learn today and what are my wins for today. And that has been doing that. And the art of gratitude and what are your wins? It keeps you focused on good things. And I'm happy to be here to share that with you and your audience today.
That's huge, Brian. Yeah. So at the end of every day, you write down all your small wins of that day?
Sometimes I'll do it as I go. When I have a win, I write it down. In fact, it's so interesting. When I interviewed Dr. John DeMartini on my show for the first time, he keeps a gratitude journal. And he will write down all the things that he's thankful for at the end of the day, all the things that happened for him. And he's been keeping this journal for at least 20 years. This gratitude journal is thousands of pages long. And he even said, I wrote down that I'm grateful that you had me on your show today. And when you write down your gratitude, it gives you confidence that more of those good things will come your way. And that will enable you to keep taking the steps towards your goals. So I think gratitude and confidence and documenting your big wins, your small wins, they all go hand in hand. So just do all those things and you'll be on the right path.
Awesome. I love it, Brian. All right. The time has come to bring everyone else out into our round robin portion. Audience, this is a great time for you to ask questions because we will ask them live and make all these people think real hard. But let's go ahead, man. We had some good tips. Let's start this off with, oh, wait. Oh, okay. Nope, that's not a question. All right. Eli, quickly refresh what your tip was for us, please.
So my tip was about collecting testimonials, nice things people say about you, keep them in a Google Drive, a notebook, wherever you do it. And when you have a bad day and you're not feeling overconfident, go back and read that stuff because that'll remind you of how good you actually are at things.
Deeva, what are your thoughts on that tip?
You know what? I love it. And I have a box of cards and messages that I've kept for years and years, all my years teaching, where they've written nice things. And I do. Occasionally I'll go back and read them. And my mom thinks I'm ridiculous. She's like, get rid of it. She's not about clutter, funny enough. But to me, that's a reminder that I succeeded somewhere, that I succeeded in inspiring somebody, that I did something that impacted somebody else. And that's a good feeling because when you remember that what you do does have an impact on others, it gives you that boost. So I think it's a great way to live.
And Brian, what are your thoughts on Eli's tip?
I love it because as he said, when I'm in a bad space, I will watch, listen, and read all of my testimonials and realize if they all think I'm amazing, then it must be true.
Awesome. All right. I love it. So we had one audience guy said this, still learning at 79. And, that's kind of like how you guys said to build confidence is do things that are crazy, do things you don't like, and grow from there. And I think that learning is 79. You're going to be learning the rest of your life, hopefully. All right. We do have a question from the audience. I'm going to pop it up right now. How do we maintain confidence when facing criticism or failure? Fantastic question.
I think criticism usually comes from people who don't understand your journey or who have not accomplished or achieved at the levels that you currently are. So it's noise. If that criticism is coming from someone who has achieved, then maybe you might want to ask them what they meant, or maybe pivot a little or do something maybe a little bit differently. But I do find that people at the top, they don't usually spend time criticism. They may offer feedback, but they wouldn't label it criticism. Yeah. And they will offer you a solution. If you are complaining or criticizing about something without a solution, Teddy Roosevelt very famously called that whining. And I don't listen to that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I also think too that I look at it as people operate at different levels of consciousness. And some people just haven't evolved, or some people may not understand, or you may not be their cup of tea. And I think, okay, I'm not for you. Keep scrolling or keep moving on. And it's hard. Nobody likes to be criticized or to be deemed as a failure. But I always look at the source. Do I really truly care what this person thinks? On what scale in my life is that going to matter in the long run? And usually it's not at all, because it's some keyboard warrior online who has nothing better to do than to be negative. And so then, I put out a thought in the world that I hope they find light. I hope that they find some sort of positivity that makes them give back to the world in a positive way, instead of, saying the negative things.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Can I add something to that too? Yeah. When it comes to
Yes.
criticism, especially like when you get stuff from online trolls and stuff like that, I always look at it from an objective standpoint. It's like real simple. Take the emotion out of it and just look at what they said. Is this actually something that I should look at to improve? Can I use this as a tool to improve what I'm doing? Sometimes, if the criticism is, hey, your video sucks, you need to fix this. It's like, okay, maybe there is something to that. Maybe I should up my game a little bit. But don't make it emotional. That's the key. And if you take the emotion out of it and look at it from an objective standpoint, you're going to see some stuff it actually is true room for improvement that you can help work on. And there are some things where it's like, nah, this guy's just a jerk. We're just going to move on. And then you move on and be done with it at that point. But come from a place of objective view first, and then see, is it legit to some degree, or is it just not worth it because they're just being a troll?
Mm-hmm.
How do you determine a troll versus constructive criticism? Outside, you said take the emotion out of it, but
yeah. Other than that, number one is you can tell by the language they're using, because people that have the real, language is everything. The words, words have power, and how you say something is what's important. And I actually talk a lot about, it's not what you say, but how you say it. And that has a lot to do with that, how they post it. You can look at it and go, okay, this is actually just somebody being a jerk, because usually they're kind of like, they seem a little unstable when they're posting their comment. Somebody's like in all caps all the time, or they're just saying rude things, as opposed to, hey, you might want to fix your audio. There's a difference in the language, and whatever the thing is that you're doing it. But that's one thing you can see, is the difference in how they say it can give you a lot of insight as to what it is. And to be ultimately, you look at what is the thing that they're complaining about, and is there any actual truthful, objective validity to it? Meaning, do they have a point? Should I work on fixing that thing? Or is it because, no, they're just whining for an excuse to whine because they have nothing better to do and nobody loves them? Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are people out there who will rage bait.
Oh, yeah.
They will do things purposely to rile people up and get this divisive argument happening.
Absolutely.
And those are the people that don't deserve the energy. That you don't put the energy into it, because you can tell they're trying to make a statement that's going to create this upheaval of emotion.
One thing I would say is if it's on a public social media post or comment or whatever, then I would give it a lot less credibility than if they message you directly and say, hey, I have some criticism. Here's what I think you should do. If it's in all caps on a comment, I would probably just ignore that entirely.
Right. Yeah, I just look at it as an opportunity. It's like, is this an opportunity for improvement? Yes or no? And that's really what I look at it as. Is this an opportunity for improvement? Yes or no? And it is that, it's black and white. If they may be a complete jerk, but what they're saying has a little bit of validity, it's like, okay, so maybe I should improve that thing, whatever it is, do what I can to step up the game. I had somebody once, it was a great time. I had somebody once who tormented me about the background I was using before I had my nice setup that I have now on a video that I recorded. And this was somebody that I know and even respected, but the way they did it was just, it was very demeaning. And I got hit pretty hard right at first. I was like, no, wait a minute. She's actually right. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. When I can, I'll upgrade everything. And guess what? Now I have, and my stuff looks a hell of a lot better than hers does. So, but I didn't lose any sleep over it. I took it for what it was and then moved on.
Everybody tells us to upgrade over here, but the whole point of Millionaires Are Made is that anyone can do it from anywhere.
Yeah.
So I refuse. I refuse to do anything other than this laptop camera. That's how it's built. All about the info.
And I truly believe it's content over visuals, right? If the content you're putting out is great and it's reaching people, that's what matters. It doesn't matter what your background looks like.
Right.
I think there's a whole lot of ridiculousness in that.
If I had good lighting right now, you would just see me crying constantly.
But how many social media influencers and stuff do we see that have this fake life going on their socials? It's not real.
Mm-hmm.
So I would rather be real and, have my painted picture in the background and have a great conversation than try to create some studio that looks professional. To me, it's about the content.
All right, we got another question from the audience. This is a good one here. How can parents encourage their child to try new things without fear of failure?
I would love to address this. Having been a teacher for 2 decades, this is a very real thing. There are a lot of kids that are afraid to fail. And the thing is we have to teach them that there is no failure, that anytime we don't succeed in something, it's a stepping stone to learning. It's a way to get better at something. And so I love giving kids the option. Yeah, you don't have to do this thing that scares you, but how do you know if you like it or not if you don't try it? And I worked with a lot of kids with stage fright and having to perform on stage. And I always said, do it once. If you don't like it, you never have to do it again. And it's those baby steps, giving them that safe environment, that supportive environment. They've got friends around them so that they feel like they've got this network of people that will be there for them if they totally fall apart. And, baby steps. But we have to teach kids to fail. Otherwise, when they do fail in life, they're not going to know how to deal with it. They have to know that it's not going to be a win every time.
Yeah. I also was a teacher for a while. I taught in college, and so I was teaching adults. One of the classes I taught was public speaking, and that's something not a lot of people like to do. And so on day one, I had everyone do an introductory speech where they had to speak up to 2 minutes. The other assignments after that were longer, 4 to 6 minutes, 6 to 8, 8 to 10. I had them start with a very short version of what they were going to do. It was not graded. Everyone had to do it. It was not optional, and it broke the ice. So if you can give somebody a smaller version of the thing you're asking them to do first so that they can get a taste of that win, then I think you're good to go.
All right, we've got another comment from the audience here. I truly believe that confidence is the number one fundamental skill for living a great life. Everything else builds on it. What are you guys' thoughts?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it works in tandem. In order to build confidence, we have to have life skills. And so we do these things in life that help us build confidence. And so I think they work together.
And you're going to, confidence is a matter of just trying it, figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And this even goes back to the last question about how do you help kids with confidence. The reality is get them to try something, and as a parent, sometimes you have to kick them in the butt a little bit to get them to do it because they really don't want to do it because they're afraid of failing. But you immediately look at that. If it doesn't go as planned, so AKA failed, you immediately go to, okay, so what did we learn? How do we learn that not to do that? It's kind of like that whole concept of, it took 10,000 tries to create the light bulb. Well, it took him 9,999 ways how not to make a light bulb before he figured it out. And you teach kids the same thing. It's like, okay, that way doesn't work. So let's try something different. And when they start doing that, and you do this in every skill in our lives, and it obviously start with kids when they're young because they get better at this as they get adults, which we have a lack of a lot of in today's world. But you get to the point of just get them, get them testing things, and we have to try those things and go, okay, this isn't working. But then you realize what you're great at. And that's the beauty of it, is you figure out what you're great at and what you're not good at. And like for me, mechanics, I ain't touching it. I know I'm horrible at cars. When I first got my car, I barely knew how to put the gas and the oil in it. And I'm still, I'm not a mechanic. I'll take it to somebody else any day of the week. But you want to talk about marketing stuff, you want to talk about geeky stuff, you want to talk about communication, I'm your guy. And that taught me, it was that learned experience that taught me, this is my skill set, this is not my skill set. And now I know where I can run. And I think that that's one of the best things that we can learn, especially as we keep going. And the comment earlier about somebody's 79 and still learning, we're still going to learn that stuff. And if you stop learning, you're done. So we got to keep doing that.
All right. I think that we're going to have to wrap it up right there. We have one last task. Oh, I got it. Mike, my Zoom premium ran out. I can't be outside. It was killing my eye. I was set up out there and couldn't even open it, so I had to move inside. So we've got one last thing to do, guys. We have our daily challenge. So we need to together come up with a task that takes less than 5 minutes a day, costs $0, is available to everyone in the world, that helps us improve our mental health with confidence. What ideas do you guys have?
I'll start this one.
Make a move toward one of your goals. Make a move toward one of your goals today.
Okay, how do we measure that?
Well, if you've documented what steps you need to achieve your goal, take the first one.
Okay. Eli, what are your thoughts? We'll get back
I think that's great. And on top of that, kind of going back to what Brian said earlier, take a little win. Figure out one thing that you can do that you're not so sure about, you're a little bit scared of doing. Mm-hmm. It could be picking up the phone and making a sales call. It could be calling an old friend that you just really haven't wanted to talk to for a while. Doesn't matter what it is, but go do the thing. Because when you do the thing, that builds that up just a little bit, and you get into the habit of doing that every day, just one little thing every day, you'll get the confidence.
For me, I'm going to say, and this goes with, stepping out of your comfort zone. I always say everybody wears an invisible sign that says, make me feel special. And when we acknowledge somebody else's invisible sign, we inevitably, it turns back on us. So do something every day that is going to acknowledge somebody's invisible sign, and watch how that changes your life in positive ways.
I love that one.
Okay, I think I've got a good one here. So this is kind of stuff we talked about earlier. So first, we're gonna write down something you did well today. So that fits with you, Brian. Something that moved you towards your goal, or something that you did well that you're happy about, right? I finally wrote that letter. I finally, typed that chapter in my book, or I did something well. All right. Then we're gonna write down. Oh man, I cannot write with one eye. My first thing is going to be writing a sentence with no spelling errors. Write down something someone else said about you positively. So we all, depending on how isolated you are, should be interacting with people, whether it's online or whatever, and someone hopefully is saying something nice. And if not, then we move into Deeva's tip, where you have to say something nice about someone else, and hopefully they will return that compliment, right? So write down something you did for yourself, write down something that you did to make someone else feel special, and then write down, kind of like Eli's testimonials, something that somebody said about you positively. Sound like an easy challenge?
I like it.
Fuck yeah. All right. Well, let's do this thing. Awesome. We are all done then. It is time to say goodbye. Thank you all so much for coming out. Huge round of applause for Ely, Brian, and Deeva, and Brian coming in last minute. We had a guest cancel. No idea why. But, oh man. All right. I'm putting you all backstage and wrapping this up. Thank you guys so much. And thank you all for watching. Don't forget that we have another episode in 30 minutes. So we will take a little break and get new guests. Our next episode is Physical Health Water. So if you're watching right now, don't forget to hang around for a little bit later. And apologies for this eye. Playing beach volleyball at night apparently brings sand into your life and it sucks the next morning.